Hi guys, welcome back to yet another review, and this time around I'm bringing you 3KZ IEMs. One of them, actually I believe two of them, I mentioned in a video recently that I was going to be reviewing them, and well, here it is. What are the IEMs I've got for you? I've got here the KZ Taurus, which is marketed as the gaming IEM. I've got here the DECET, which has been out for a while now. And I've got here the AM16 balanced version, the brother to the bass version. On top there, I've got the Caster Harman, the Caster bass, and the AM16, the bass version, for, let's say, comparison purposes and to establish things where they, well. Anyway, let's get things started. I'm going to get the Taurus out of the way immediately. The Taurus, I mean, look, it's a budget IM priced at under $20. It's a 2DD IM. It's got two 8mm DDs. I believe these DDs are the older generation of DDs from KZ, so they are not super linear drivers. They're not the XUN drivers. I at most think that they might be the same 8mm drivers that you find here in the DECET. So they are good quality drivers. They are tuned in a Harman way, which is very similar to the way that the tuning in the Caster Pro Harman Edition is done. And what that ultimately means is this: they've got an entertaining sound, very much mid-focused, loads of detail up top. The bass is on occasion a little bit thin, but overall the sound is entertaining. It is engaging. It is, it's a fun sound. I think it will do its intended purposes really well. However, the problem with the Taurus is just one: it's got the Caster Pro Harman Edition priced at not that much more money above, and I've seen this at $20. And it's an IM which has got a better build, more solid plastic shell, a nice metal faceplate. It's got the tuning switches. So overall, the biggest problem with the Taurus is just that it has a sibling which has a better build. That same sibling utilizes two of the latest generation drivers, the 10mm super linear. And the fact that it's got that adjustment capability with the switches just makes it an overall more sensible, more complete IM. It can play music and it can be used for gaming purposes, while this one has been intended to be a gaming IM, although it does play music very well, and I listened to music on it and I was very satisfied. Like I said, only on certain occasions and only with certain genres that I find that the upper mids and treble maybe became a little bit less polished. And it didn't shout or didn't become aggressive. You just noticed that it wasn't as elegant or as composed as with the Caster Pro, the Harman Edition. So overall, that's basically the issue here with the Taurus, or my let's say my conclusions about the Taurus. It's a nicely tuned IM. The build quality is budget, undeniable, but it is a nicely tuned IM with a good balance of bass, mids, and treble. Although the focus is on the mid frequencies and on the vocals shining through. So in terms of its technicalities, it's really good soundstage, good imaging, good detail retrieval. So again, for its purpose of a gaming IM, without a doubt, I'm sure that it will do its job perfectly. But if you can't have multiple IMs, or if you can maybe just give a $5, $6, $10 more and get an IM that will do that same gaming abilities of the Taurus, but also be able to play music more competently, in my opinion, and the Harman edition of the Caster Pro is definitely worthwhile. So that's the Taurus out of the way. Then we have the KZ, the DECET. The DECET it's been out now for a while. I can't really be precise, but I would say easily 3-4 months, easily. I think it was prior to the start of summer that it came out. Five DDs. It's got tuning switches as well. And here is the first of my minor nitpicks. I wish that the tuning switches would have been the tuning switches that they use on the Caster series, or on other series, by the way, which are just a little bit more properly sized and easier to switch on. These ones are not exactly the easiest ones to switch. They are the same as you find in the AS24 Pro. The shell, and the second is the shell being a little bit on the big side, which, I mean, the Caster is not that much smaller, but just the shape of the Caster is more friendly, while this shape has got a shape which inevitably will make the IM sit a little bit more on the outside of the ear. Ultimately, I did get it to sit properly. It wasn't really a problem. And in terms of sound, which is the main thing here, I was really impressed with the DECET. It's got, like I said, the tuning switches, and I tried the various settings. The one that I ended up opting for was the 1100, so boosting the bass. And that's basically what happens when you play around with the switches. They adjust the bass level as compared to then the mids, upper mids, and treble. In the all zero setting, it kind of remained almost the same. The difference was negligible. In the 0011 setting, so in boosting the mids and highs, that's where I found that the bass would drop down a little bit less. And then yes, the focus of the sound shifted slightly more towards being mid-focused, although it's a mid-focused which is still on the warmer side, if you guys understand what I'm trying to say. With the 1100 setting, the bass being that tuck style bass, it gets away with you actually boosting it quite significantly, and that not meaning that it's going to now muffle the mids or make them sound dark or not clean or anything of the sort. No. What it does, and in that aspect, the DECET and the Caster Pro bass, they sound almost identical, and that's I think the main reason why I fell for the DECET straight away, because I immediately tried it out with that 1100 setting, just for the sake of let's see what it sounded like, and the moment I put it in my ears, automatically I was drawn to the Caster Pro, the bass edition. I would even say that the bass is perhaps ever so slightly more incisive and more clean on the DECET than maybe on the Caster Pro. Or rather, let me rephrase that. I wouldn't say clean, because they both have excellent bass, phenomenal bass. Okay, I would say that the bass here on the DECET is perhaps a little bit more impactful and almost BA-like. Okay, while there on the Caster Pro, the bass is clean. It's definitely high quality bass, but it's got a little bit more of a warmer tonality and timbre to it, while yeah, it's a very clean, very incisive tonality and timbre that it has. Bass, like I said, was definitely the thing that attracted me to the DECET. As for the mids, upper mids, and treble, they are basically the same as the Caster Pro, so nothing to be said there. Detailed, clean, no shoutiness, no aggressiveness, no sibilance, nothing. The DECET is, in my opinion, and we're not wanting to jump ahead too much, but it is definitely, in my opinion, one of the better KZIMs, without question. And when you factor in that you can get this for as low as $35, like I got it, for an all DDIM, 5 drivers each side, decent build quality. You got the tuning switches you can adjust and get a little bit of adjustment into the sound, so better adapt the sound to your preferences. You're going to be very hard pressed to find criticisms and to say, oh, I don't like this IM or this. No, because it is a truly solid IM. It's as simple as that. And for the amount of money that's being asked, there is really nothing out there that can solidly outdo it. There are other IMs which are just as good, with different configurations, without question. I mean, the Eloa, the latest version of the 7Hz Eloa, the Ultra, phenomenal IM, phenomenal. One of the better budget, let's say, dual, triple, quintuple DDIMs that are out there. In the case of the Eloa, obviously it's a dual DD. Phenomenal IM, phenomenal. Is the Eloa substantially better than the DECET? No, it's perhaps a little bit more polished in the tuning that it brings. That without question, I'm not going to deny it. But both are excellent options if you are looking for an all DDIM, something that just is unique, something that stands out. No longer do you have to go spend crazy money. I remember when you wanted an all DDIM in the past, you had to really spend some serious money. And I'm talking, and obviously, mind you, I am a big fan of the Panon serial, but you are now able to get a sound which is as competent, as fulfilling as the sound of the Panon serial, at substantially lower values. And again, the DECET is proof of that. The DECET is a really solid IM. There is very little, but I mean, maybe on some male DECET. I'm trying to find the DECET so I can show you. exactly, number 9. Maybe on some female vocals, you might find that the way that the bass is done might just color the bass, color that same vocal a little extra. But ultimately, the thing about the DECET, which I think is what stands out, is that it gives us, or gives me at least, a fun, engaging sound that makes me want to continue to listen to music, as opposed to, getting something else. It scales extremely well as well, and much like the Caster Pro, the bass edition, they are just a lot of fun to listen to. They are colored, fair enough, yes. Colored in terms of the bass, because there's a lot of bass there, but the way that they've done it, and in the case of the Caster Pro, obviously the super linear drivers are the main factor here. The 8mm drivers that they used, although older, are definitely good quality. The way that they've implemented those drivers, the bass is thick, yes, but it's got a lot of quality behind it. It's got a lot of punch, and it just makes the listening experience a lot of just makes it very pleasurable. And whatever maybe faults that the upper mids and treble and so on and so forth, the mids, upper mids and treble might have, they are completely taken out with the engagement that the bass gives us. Okay, and that's basically it, guys. So bass is really good, mids, upper mids and treble, much like the Caster Pro bass edition, so clean, detailed, nothing to be said. A little bit extra extension up top, so I would say maybe the sound stage is slightly larger than the Caster Pro, but not by much. So, again, well done, really well done. DECET, phenomenal IM. And then finally here, the AM16, the balanced edition. This is the bass edition. You guys know that when I reviewed the bass edition, I praised it and I said it was, the best way to enter the BA world at a budget. I mean, for $35 you cannot go wrong. And the balanced, basically, that's my opinion about the balanced. The balanced, I would even go a little bit further and say that maybe for those that think that the bass version's got a little bit too much bass, and that bass kind of smothers slightly than the mid-range presentation of the bass edition of the AM16, which I'm not going to say it's not true. It is true. It does smother it slightly. So it will be very much dependent on what music genres you like. So if you like listening to a lot of acoustic stuff and so on, no, that's not what the bass edition of the AM16 does well. And in that respect, the balanced version is substantially better. But just like the bass edition, where you have this coherency of all the BAs coming together in such a nice way that you think that you're actually listening to a single driver. There's no BA timbre or tonality or aggressiveness, nothing. I mean, the bass edition is phenomenal in that aspect. On the balanced, that's taken a step further, in the sense that because you have less bass, then the mids, upper mids and treble shine. There's a little bit more openness to the sound, so that they definitely will please the crowd that are more, let's say, detail orientated. But above all, and that's where it really impressed me, is they've been able to maintain that integrity of all the drivers being matched together perfectly. The crossover that they've implemented is doing its work. And only, I think it was maybe once or twice that I found a female vocal, and I would even attribute it more down to the recording than actually the IM, that the female vocal just ever so slightly sounded a little bit more intense than I would personally like. But overall, what I can say about the AM16, the balanced version, is if the bass edition is something that you're going to be scared, that you might think it's got too much bass and it's going to just not be up there in terms of allowing the mids, the vocals to shine and so on and so forth, balanced. Without question, the AM16 balanced and bass edition are the best. And I'm saying this with confidence. These are the best all BA IMs at any price point right now, in my opinion. That's how good I think they are. Because, you start comparing them to more expensive IMs, it's inevitable, and you start saying, okay, where is this at fault? Where are those other ones at fault? What do those other ones do more than this? And guys, you're gonna have a really hard time justifying paying $500, $600 for another all-BA IM when you have this one being capable of giving you 80-90% of the same performance, even maybe more, depending on what IM exactly we're talking about, at a fraction of the cost. I mean, guys, it's as simple as that. I mean, there's no point in me trying here to beat around the bush and trying to. That's the reality. These two IMs are solid. All right. Anyway, let me just quickly show you the graphs and wrap this thing up. Okay, guys, so let's start here with the graphs, and let's start here with the Taurus. My apologies, I'm trying to find it here. Okay, 4, 5, exactly. Okay, that's the left and right channel. Pretty decent balance between the two of them, especially considering the price, so no real issues there. And as I said in the review, it's very much a Harman style of tuning, nothing offensive. You know, we're talking about a bass gain of around 6 dBs, so nothing, 5.5, 6 dBs. The pinna gain is a little bit more than that. The pinna gain is, one second, pinna gain is around 10 dBs roughly, not even, yeah, roughly 10 dBs. So it's a nicely tuned IM, nice extension past 10K, so for nice sound stage and so on and so forth. This usually is a good indicator of that. So nothing that you can consider to be offensive or not well done or not well executed. But this is the Caster Pro in the 1100 setting. And I think it's self-explanatory. It's honestly very much self-explanatory. The Caster Pro has got the versatility of the switches, okay, and you get a very solidly tuned IM with very good drivers inside of it, the super linear drivers. So, you know, not much more expensive than the Taurus, so difficult to justify the Taurus, honestly, very, very difficult. But anyway, so that's the Taurus out of the way there. Let's just erase these so that we don't have them here causing issues. Take away here this one as well. All right. Now, where is the DECET? Okay, so here's the DECET. Okay, KZ DECET. As I mentioned, this is with the 1100 setting. So it's the setting that boosts the bass the most, let's put it that way. This next setting that graph that I'm gonna show you is in the all 0 setting, okay, and as you can see it basically stays the same, there's not much different. And the one that does introduce some difference is this one, which is the 0011 setting. So between that setting and the one that I like, you can see that there's a difference here in the way that bass energy is present at the lower registers. That dip as well is slightly more subdued, and what that basically does is it gives, yes, a little bit extra correctness to the sound. I'm not going to deny it, but I just enjoy that extra big thump and cleanliness that you get from that bass boost, and it just guys, you know, like I said, everyone to its own. I just enjoy it very much, and when I compare it to the Caster Pro, the bass edition, you can understand what I said, why they sound the same and why I like the DECET. They graph basically the same. So KZ has made sure that their house sound or house style of tuning has been maintained, and the sound is very much the same type of sound. It's a nice full bass sound, clean, incisive, solid. Honestly, very, very, very nice. I can't express that enough, that the DECET is a truly nice IM. I was honestly not expecting this quality. You know, not much to be seen in terms of the mids, upper mids, and chip. That's really well executed. And then this stuck style of things that they do enables us to get away with having a lot of bass energy that doesn't really interfere into the mids. Okay, so it doesn't muffle the mids, doesn't quiet down the mids. Of course, yes, it's colored. Yes, the female vocals will sound a little bit more husky than what they should, but it's the engagement overall that you get from this way of doing things that is very gratifying, and it just sounds. It kind of has that very much old school type of vibe going for it, honestly. So that's the DECET, and then finally here the AM16. Where is the AM16? Yes, there we go. 10 and 11. AM16, the balanced version and the base version. As you can see, they are basically the same from 200 hertz up. There's no difference. The difference lies only is in the base quantity, where that, while on the base version, okay, and if you take that pointer, I like taking the 100 hertz point there, you can see that it basically is above the mids and upper mids, so the sound is more warmer, noticeably more bass heavy. Okay, on the balanced version, that same point there is lower in the mids, so the mids, the vocals are able to shine. And as I was stating earlier, the fact that now the mids are a little bit more prominent or shining makes this area here slightly more noticeable, and that forwardness, I did pick up on it, like I said, once or twice. Nothing that was aggressive, nothing that I can consider as a fault, because I'm obviously taking into account the price. And again, I repeat what I said earlier. The AM16 is without question, when you consider all the nuances, everything, probably the most honest, sensible buy that you can do of any BA, all BA IM out there right now. Because when you start taking into account what the other all BA IMs offer, and you put the price into the equation, you lose. It's simple. Fair enough. You listen to a Banana Turbo, you listen to Softiers and RSV, you listen to XINHS T4, you listen to a Studio 4 from Softiers as well, you listen to an EPZ 530, you listen to a Neon Pro from our audio. You know, there's a lot of really solid IMs out there. Yes, they obviously do have enough to justify what they cost, and I think the main thing here is that KZ just has such small profit margins that they decide that they will make an IM where they make very little money on it, but they will sell a ton of them out there, and in the process they basically end up making something which is unbeatable in terms of price to quality, price to sound relationship. It's unbeatable, and that's what happens exactly here with the AM16. The AM16 balance is a really good IM. I mean, trust me. if there's anything here that I want to nitpick, is maybe this peak here could be a little bit more well executed, not as prominent, and maybe energize this area here as well a little bit more. But the reality is this, that's me just nitpicking, and I honestly don't think it will make a significant difference, and that would involve more complexity in terms of the build, which would ultimately maybe push the price up. So when you start factoring in all the things and you take into account the main issue here, which is it's 8 BAs which have been tuned in a manner which is honestly faultless. You cannot fault this. And obviously this being the newer generation BAs that KZ has been using, this is showing, because if they had attempted something like this with maybe the older generation BAs that they were using, which were not as of a high quality, then things like BA timbre would have become prominent. Things like that shoutiness, that metallicness would have been present. But in the case here of the AM16, be it the bass or be it the balanced version, like we're talking about, it's what is noticeable is so insignificant that it can't even be considered a fault. You know, that's the truth. Anyway, guys. Enough rambling. I think I've already given you a pretty decent perception of these 3 IMs, and if you have the ability to try them out, I would suggest you do, and that's it. All right, you take care now. Bye bye. Oh, and don't forget, subscribe. Take care now. Bye bye.